everybody, it's Patrick from Patrick & Friends Music Company, and today we're going to be talking about songwriting. Now there's many aspects that go into writing music, but melody, harmony, and rhythm are the three foundational pillars of composition. You need to be able to understand these before you start to write music. Let's start with melody. Melody is arguably the most important aspect and pillar. A lot of times composers and songwriters start off with melody and build up from there. It's where they get their inspiration from. Now, if you just Google melody, you'll find a bunch of different definitions sort of saying the same thing, but melody is a group of single notes played in succession. Melody is typically the most easily identifiable aspect of a song. It's what people hum along to, it's what people sing along to, and a lot of times this is what leaves an impression on the listener. This is why melody is so important to songwriting. The most obvious example of melody is a singer in a pop or rock song. The singer is singing the melody of the song. And again, this is what drives the song or tune. There's other examples of melody, including in a jazz bebop tune. A lot of times the instruments play the melody in the head, so the beginning and the end of the song. And there's other less obvious examples, including guitar riffs, guitar solos, other solos, and even chord progressions that have melody on the top. You can hear this in classical music, jazz music, and progressive rock and metal music. This is all to say that although melodies can be found in many different forms, a lot of times it's what's used to drive a song. They can be very complex, strings of 16th notes, 8th notes skating in and out of keys, or they can be very simple, all in one key, quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, but very, very memorable and something someone can sing along to. What I suggest doing, if you're a beginner, is to start off simple. Keep a nice, simple, catchy melody to start your song. Let's play a nice melody and see what it sounds like. Again, nothing fancy in this melody, just something that you can hum along to, you can memorize after a couple times of listening to it. You know, you can embellish this melody and make it maybe a little more interesting, but let's keep it simple and start talking about harmony. Harmony is when you have multiple notes at once. Melody, again, is our single notes. Harmony is when you add a note. And you can keep adding notes and layers and layers and layers till you have these luscious chords with this nice melody on top. Now, harmony is powerful. It can change the mood, the texture of a song. It can make a lighter sounding melody sound darker and vice versa. It has the power to add tension, add release, add depth to your song. It can really make your song be portrayed the way you want it to be portrayed. Someone might hear a melody a different way than what you might hear it, but if you add a harmony to it, it can really, really come across how you want the mood and emotion of your song to be. Now, this can be realized in many different ways, but in songwriting, a lot of times it's with chord accompaniment. So you have a melody, and then you have some sort of chord progression played by a chordal instrument underneath it. Now, a lot of times this is guitar or piano, but even a bass player can outline the chords through their bass line. Let's add some harmony to our melody from earlier. Let's keep it pretty simple. We're going to start with a C major chord, our 1 chord. Then we're going to go to F major, a 4 chord. Then we're going to go to the 6th chord, the A minor. And then we're going to go to our 5 chord, G major. Let's see what this sounds like. So I think that sounded nice and upbeat. I think going from that C major to F major really made it uplifting, made it a nice sounding melody, and really established the key of C. Let's change it up a little bit. We're going to go to the relative minor key of A minor, and we're going to play some very similar chords, but it's going to sound a little different. So we're going to start on our 1 chord, our A minor chord. Now we're going to go to our F major chord, but now it's our 6 major. Then we're going to go to our C major, but now it's our 3 major. Then we're going to end on an E minor, our 5 minor. And then we're just going to bring it back home to A minor. Let's see what this sounds like. Great, so this really sounded a lot darker. First, we started on a minor chord, and it kind of gives us the impression that this is going to be a minor melody. And then we end on an E minor chord, and that's a lot different than ending on the G major. It really makes a darker sounding ending to our melody. Now let's add a little bit of color. We're going to change the chords up quite a bit. We're going to go back to C major, and then we're going to add an A dominant 7. This is the 5-7 of 2. And then we're going to go to our 2 chord, we're going to make it a 9th chord. So a 2 minor 9 or a D minor 9. And we're going to go to our 5 dominant 7 chord, our G7. Let's see what this sounds like. I think it added some nice tension to the melody. That A dominant 7 chord really added a little extra something in the middle of the melody instead of just having tension at the end. Then resolved to our D minor 9, which then again went to our G7, which added some more tension, and we went home to our C major. Great, now we're going to really mix things up. We're going to go to the key of E minor now, so we're going to play in an entirely different key, and we're going to play some pretty interesting chords. So we're going to start on a 2 minor 7 flat 5, our F sharp half diminished. We're going to go to our 5 chord, but we're going to add a sharp 9. So it's going to be B7 sharp 9. And then we're going to go to our 1 chord, our 1 minor chord, but we're going to be playing a minor 9. So we're going to be playing E minor 9. And then we're going to go to a pretty interesting chord. It's going to be a 4 dominant 7th chord, so our A7. Also the 5-7 of 7. So some pretty interesting chords. Let's see what this sounds like. Great, now I do all of this to show you how powerful harmony can be. It can really change your melody and convey the emotion or mood that you're going for in your song. Lastly, we have rhythm. Now rhythm can be applied to all of our pillars and it can be its own separate entity. Now, when you talk about rhythm, you have to start with the time signature, the beat, the pulse of the song. Now this is already established with our melody and harmony, but it's in the time signature 4/4. So our pulse is 1, 2, 3, 4. And this repeats and repeats throughout the song. But in your song, if you want it to be in 3/4, 12/8, 5/4, 7/8, this really changes how your song is heard, and it can really change how your listener perceives your song. So though we already established 4/4, adding a drum part can really hammer it in. It can really make it so that each beat is accounted for and that your listener has a good sense of that rhythm. So let's see what it sounds like when we add drums to our melody. Now we can also use rhythm to really make our melody interesting. Right now, our melody is very much on our beats. So on our beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's not a lot of what we call syncopation. So on the off beats, the space between our beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what we're going to do is add some syncopation to our melody and see what that sounds like. Now you can like it either way. Syncopation can be overdone, it can be underdone, but I think it really adds an interesting element and really changes our melody quite a bit. Now talking about harmony and rhythm, the first thing to talk about is harmonic rhythm. And this is how long our chords each go for in a chord progression. Right now with our harmony and our chord progression, we're playing 1 chord for a full measure, so 1 chord for 4 beats. But let's see what it sounds like when we double that up. So now we're gonna have chords every 2 beats or half notes. And this is going to change our chord progression slightly. So instead of just that, 4 chord progression, we're now going to go from C major, E minor, A minor, F major, C major, E minor, and then we're going to end and hold out a G major for a full measure. Let's see what it sounds like. As you can see, this creates different movement in our song. It really helps the song move along, and the chord progression actually changes, and it can really change the sound of the melody. Now, rhythm can be applied all over. We haven't even talked about the bass line, the guitar strumming pattern, the way the drums subdivide the beat. So whether they play eighth notes on the hi-hat, 16th notes on the hi-hat, quarter notes on the ride, the crash, this all affects the rhythm and how your song sounds. And the last thing with rhythm is rhythmic motifs. This is almost like a rhythm melody. It's some sort of catchy rhythm that is repeated and repeated throughout the song that people can also hum along to. It's almost like a secondary melody. If you really enjoyed this video and our other videos on the Patrick and Friends Music Company channel, make sure you check out our Patreon page for exclusive content not available on YouTube. Now there's so much to unpack with melody, harmony, and rhythm. This is only the start of it. But as you dive deeper and dive deeper, having a good understanding of these three pillars will really help with your composition. So I hope to see you in the next video, but in the meantime, happy practicing.